Hello, hello, intro with no plan. But today I will be summarizing Seasons of Blossom. Hopefully. Oh wait, actually not hopefully because I actually just I just finished recording my voiceover for spring and summer and it is very long. So I think I might just do these two and then fall and winter later. But yeah, I guess a brief overview. It is a webtoon that has finished a few years ago, I think, and each season has its own separate main plot and then a bunch of side characters in every season that do their own stuff. Oh yes, I will introduce the characters, I guess, that we'll be talking about. For spring, it's Bomi Yoon. I don't really think I need to use their last names actually, but she's oh my god, sorry. wait, I'll redo that. It's the main friend group is a group of second years in high school for Korea, and it consists of Bomi, who is popular and pretty, and Jinyoung, who is short and rude, I guess, but not really. And then Sunhui, who's short and actually rude. Jaemin, who is popular and I don't know how to describe him, but he's great. And then Jaemin's friends are Youngsup and Hojun. I mean, they're the side friends, I guess. And then the main friend is Jaehyun, but he's more main later. And then Junyoung's friends are Weejin and Jintei. Let's see. Oh, and then Summer. Oh wait, Gyuri is like the opposite of Bomi, and she wants to be like her. And then Summer is, or the main couple is Hamin, who is Jaemin's older brother, and Somong. Also, I wanted to say thank you for 1 subscriber. I'm actually very shocked. I had 4 views, I think, on my other video. Technically, I have 2 videos, but I don't really count the first one. I was actually so happy. I wish you could see who subscribed to you. I mean, maybe it was an accident, but thank you if you see this, but it is a very different video from my last one, so also sorry if you see this. And thank you for subscribing. I'm very happy. Anyway, what else was I gonna say? I forgot. Okay, yes, I remember. I was just gonna say some disclaimers. So number 1, about the actual contents. It is obviously very spoilery. Like, it literally says, like, what happens. I left out a lot of small scenes where it's just like, oh, this character said a sentence to another character in the next scene. And also, I don't think it'll be actually enjoyable to listen to because it's really hard for me to talk well. So I'm like, I don't know. I think I sounded natural, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Let me think. Oh, also I suck at editing, so there are this was like the annoying part. Is like I keep tripping over my words because like I don't know. It's really hard for me to talk for some reason for like long periods of time. But basically, if I mess up, I would just like stop recording, cut off the messed up line, and then re-record, right? But then sometimes in between the cutoff, it would be like me breathing to say the next line, but then it cuts off the breathing to. Okay, but yeah, you'll probably hear it, and it is annoying. So sorry. But also, I have 2 subscribers. Well, 1, and 1 is me. But yeah, so no need to judge. Also, long intro. Sorry. And then other disclaimer. Well, I haven't even started editing or like making the visuals. I'm very sure it'll be really boring because, again, I don't know how to edit at all, and I don't enjoy it. So I was planning on just like putting screenshots from the webtoon that corresponds, but that'll be too much effort for me, I think. I might put like a few, but you might just see my persona avatar like dancing or something. Also, I'm like biased because I usually don't wait, sorry. I usually don't watch videos, like I only listen to them. Even if there is like visuals to go with it, I'll just like play a game or something and have the video playing so I can listen to it. So yeah, that's like, I don't know, when I think of this video, that's like what I think of, just like an audiobook, but it's really boring. Because, wait, did I already say it was boring? Yeah, because I tried to do it at first without typing up a script because I typed up a summary as I was reading, like in bullet points. But then I can't come up with it on the fly other than reading the bullet points. And I don't want to do that, so I had to write a script, and it's very boring because I'm not like the thing about webtoon versus books, or like it's like well, obviously it'll show them like walking sometimes, but it really only shows the parts that I mean I guess books are like this too ish, but it really only shows the parts that are like that like stuff is happening, and then in this webtoon it's usually dialogue like that's important because it's like relationship centered. So like all of it is just like he said this and then she said this and then later he said this and then she said this. So like I don't know. I don't know who would watch this and enjoy it other than my friend. I'm not going to name it just in case someone sees this. I don't want to be revealing things, but yeah, I'm forcing her to watch it. Also, I see it's already like 7 minutes of intro. Sorry. Okay, I was annoying there, so I sped it up. But also, last thing, Please read it. If you have not read it, please read it. Please read it. Even if you watch this and for some reason you watch the whole thing, and then I guess when fall and winter, you should read it. Like it is, like this video is so boring. The webtoon is so good. So yes, please read it if you can. If you can't, and this is like for some reason the only way you can get the actual story, then I guess it's okay. But please read it. It is so good. Like I'm pretty sure it's pretty popular because it has like published books and stuff. And I don't know, I thought it was popular, but then like I didn't know anyone who read it, so I had to like make all my friends read it, and all of them liked it. Like they come back and they're like, "Oh, I cried." Like it is so good. Anyway, time to get into it. Woohoo! Once upon a time, there was an ordinary red duck who lived in an ordinary red duck village. The village ducks often bullied and looked down on the red duck. Even so, the red duck wanted to blend in with the other village ducks because they were the red duck's world. "I want to get along with you too. Won't you tell me if there's anything I need to fix?" The village ducks laughed and said, "There's nothing for you to fix. It's just fun for us to bully you." In the end, the red duck had no choice but to run away to the frog ponds deep in the forest to escape the village ducks. Instead of hating the village ducks who bullied him, the red duck hated himself more for being unable to get along with the others. Just then, the red duck heard a voice from among the bushes. "If you have nowhere else to go, would you like to go beyond the rainbow with me? My name is Nemone. I'm from the Circle Village." Although everyone in the Circle Village was born in a different shape, everyone eventually had to become a circle. Nemone said he was kicked out because he was the only one who couldn't become a circle. It's said there's a village beyond that rainbow where no one is hurt. We can be happy there too. If you're going beyond the rainbow, can you take these glowing seeds? I know I had to let my precious seeds go because it's so humid here that they'll soon begin to rot," said the frog. So the red duck and Nemone went on a journey beyond the rainbow, each keeping the seed the frog gave them safely in their sacks. They crossed mountains and waded through swamps. They trekked across a summer country suffocatingly hot and humid, a beautiful but lonely autumn country, and a winter country that seemed to freeze even the heart. Until finally, they arrived at the country of spring. Even though it wasn't beyond the rainbow, Red Duck and Nemone, who liked the country of spring, decided to plant the frog seeds here. When they opened their sacks to take them out, they saw that the seeds had sprouted along their journey through all the seasons to spring. Red Duck and Nemone planted the sprouted seeds among the flowers with great care, and they built a village where those with weary hearts who also sought to go beyond the rainbow could relax on their journey. In that village, everyone was respected and could stay and regroup for as long as they wished. Everyone called the village where flowers bloom. It's the first day of the spring semester, and Bomi and Sunhui, who are second years, are walking to school together. Jaemin arrives and greets Sunhui by tripping her and then says hi nicely to Bomi. He teases Sun and she blushes before he asks Bomi for math help as a way of flirting. Later, while they're doing the math together, Bomi thinks she has a strong hunch things will go well with him. Sunhui tries to ask Bomi in the hallway if she likes Jaemin, but gets interrupted when Bomi bumps into Jinyoung with his friends Weejin and Jintei. She apologizes a few times while Sun gets annoyed and rudely says some things to Jinyoung since he didn't really respond. He then responds rudely back and she curses him out. In class, Yuri invites Bomi and Sun to eat with her friends after school at Burger Queen, and there she asks Bomi if she has a crush on Jaemin, and admits that she likes him and wanted to ask Bomi to help them talk. Bomi doesn't know what to say, and Sun interjects saying no because Sun likes Jaemin too. Bomi is shocked and realizes Sunhui is serious, so she says, "No, I like Jinyoung," thinking of him due to their earlier encounter. Unluckily, Jinyoung's group is there too, and they overhear. Back in school, Sunhui asks Bomi multiple times if she's serious and even tries pretending she didn't actually like Jaemin so Bomi will admit it, but Bomi keeps lying and ends up telling Jaemin later that they shouldn't really talk anymore. When Bomi and Son are in the stairwell later, Son asks her why she likes Jinyoung and she says he's cute and reminds him of Son. Jinyoung and his friends happen to be in the stairwell and overhear again, and Jinyoung acts uninterested but blushes in his ears. Later in class, the teacher assigns volunteers to clean the art room, and it includes Bomi, Jaemin, Jinyoung, Gyuri, and 2 other people. They randomly pair up for different tasks, and Bomi ends up with Jinyoung to mop after the others finish their jobs. It's awkward alone, but Bomi makes an effort to talk to him and apologizes for Son's behavior. Jinyoung says she's only saying it so it's not awkward, and Bomi accidentally calls him a smartass out loud, to which he replies that she has personality. On the first day of midterms, Bomi forgets to bring a pen and no one she asks has an extra. She's about to ask the teacher, but Jaemin gives her one and Jinyoung is embarrassed as he was about to give her his. After that, Bomi doesn't get the chance to say thank you to Jaemin, so she keeps trying to get his attention throughout the day while Jinyoung observes. Later, she finds him in the hallway where Jaemin says sorry for pressuring you. You know I like you, right? And Jinyoung spots them together but can't hear them. After they finish mopping that day, Jinyoung says, I thought you liked me. Bomi is like, what? Me like you? And he says, you said it at Burger Queen. She tells him the truth and he asks what's the point of lying. She says she won't date someone her friend likes and he says, then go out with me and someone who will believe you, but you'll be the one confessing and broken up with. She ends up rejecting the offer. After their talk earlier, Jaemin tells his friends he thinks he's been rejected without getting to confess. His friends talk to Sunhui about it and she's suspicious, so she tells Bomi it's okay if she likes Jaemin because she never wanted to be more than friends and that she'll be mad if Bomi was just stringing him along. Bomi says she really doesn't like him and Sunhui is shocked. After that, another day before class started, Bomi gets a text from Son who hasn't arrived yet saying that she'll explain to Jaemin because she knows Bomi likes him. So Bomi tells Jinyoung she's fine with fake dating but wants it to be a mutual breakup instead. Gyuri asks, why are y'all whispering? Is there something going on? And Jinyoung says, yeah, we're dating now, as Sunhui comes into the room. Like, what? Everyone in class overhears and is wondering what happened, and Bomi's about to say she confessed, but Jinyoung says that he confessed. Sunhui is still suspicious of them, so she says to invite Jinyoung and his friends to hang out because she should get along with her best friend's boyfriend. And her plan is for Bomi to spend more time with Jaemin and change her mind since she thinks Jinyoung isn't a good match for her. On the day of the hangout, Sunhui and Bomi meet up with Jinyoung's group, who arrived 40 minutes early since Weijin and Jinte were nervous. Sun says she's waiting for one more person and Jaemin shows up. While they're hanging out, Gyuri randomly shows up and says she was early to her plans in the area. They all end up sitting together and Gyuri asks how they started dating. Jinyoung calls her nosy, and Jinte says they didn't even know Jinyoung liked anyone until he started dating, and Jinyoung replies that's because we never talk about that stuff. His friends exclaim it's because they can't, as in they get no girls, and after Gyuri leaves, Bomi, Sun, and Jaemin all start laughing about it. They ask what they do talk about, which is games, and it turns out Jinyoung has a waiting list of people wanting to play with him and offers to go pro, which is why he's popular with guys. Bomi says she's never played games or been to an internet cafe, so they take her to one. They basically play League and Jinyoung calls her bad jokingly, then laughs, and Bomi blushes, thinking it's cute. At home later that day, Bomi texts Jinyoung thanking him for coming since she thinks he forced himself to go because of her. Jinyoung calls her and she's confused, since she didn't think her text warranted a call, but they end up talking until she falls asleep to his voice. Now it's the last day of their group cleaning, so after they finish mopping, the six end up hanging out until the bell rings. The others ask what they were talking about while mopping, which was Jinyoung's siblings, so he shows them pictures. He has a little brother and sister, and Bomi asks Jaemin if he has any siblings since he was looking at the pictures oddly, and he says no and he just thought they were cute. The other cleaners talk about how Jaemin has an only child or older sibling vibe, and Bomi thinks he looks uncomfortable. In class, they get their seats switched. Jinyoung is supposed to sit next to Sunhui, but asks someone to switch with him so he can sit with Bomi. Jaemin is next to Jinte now and accidentally thinks out loud that they look like they're getting along, while watching Bomi and Jinyoung. Jinte says they look suspicious, right? But Jaemin was actually thinking he's sad about it. Jinte then says it was too out of the blue, and Jaemin starts getting suspicious. During class time, Jinyoung draws a game board on a piece of paper and they end up playing all class. Bomi wants to play more when break starts, but he says no because she's bad and she gets mad. She tells Sunhui about it, who says she usually doesn't express emotions strongly or slack off in class. Bomi thinks about it and thinks she always got oddly ticked off by him and that she must be comfortable around him. Sun then thinks they do look good together, then slaps herself out of it. In PE class, the teacher pairs them up by height to play badminton, so Jaemin and Bomi are paired, while Jinyoung and Sunhui are paired. Jaemin and Bomi talk a bit, then Jinyoung starts hitting Jaemin with the bird, which makes him wonder if he's doing it on purpose. While they're playing, some random dudes from other classes say hi to Bomi, and she says guys have been saying hi to her a lot. Bomi and Jaemin pass the test first try and sit down to watch the others, and see that Jinyoung is actually just bad and hits the teacher with the bird too. Jaemin asks about Jinyoung's personality, and Bomi first talks about how he's rude, then says she's comfortable with him since he doesn't expect her to be a certain way unlike other people, then notices Jaemin making an odd expression again. When they get back to the classroom, there are snacks on Bomi's table from some of the guys. Jinyoung eats them while the guys are watching through their window. It turns out they've been thinking Bomi has low standards since she started dating Jinyoung and think they have a chance now. Later, when Jinyoung's outside with his friends, some of the third-year guys ask him to come with him, and Jinyoung says no. Jaemin spots them from their class window and prepares to intervene. The leader of the group tells Jinyoung he had dibs on Bomi, and even gave her the snacks, and Jinyoung says, your brain must be the size of a dibs. When Jaemin arrives, Jinyoung starts yelling loudly stuff like, "No! Don't touch me! You groped me!" And the bullies leave in embarrassment since he was causing a scene. Jaemin is impressed and asks why the other two didn't help. And it turns out they have a system where Jinyoung deals with bullies and the other two film them secretly. At first, Jinyoung wasn't going to do anything about the weirdos, since nothing really happened, but decides to get them banned from the second-year floor when he thinks of the dibs thing. Later in class, Yuri is making fun of Jinyoung with some other girls about it, and Bomi says he dealt with it well. Jaemin then tells his friend he wants to be friends with Jinyoung and asks Jin-tae how to. Fast forward and we see a couple scenes of Jaemin being super friendly to Jinyoung, who's not really interested. Jaemin's group sits with Jinyoung and Bomi's group at lunch, and he asks why they act platonic even though they're dating. Jinyoung says it's just convenient to call her by her first name. Jaemin's friend Youngsub says they can go home together after evening study sessions since Son won't be there, so they actually start doing it. Jinyoung says, "Let's go, Bomi," and stops himself from saying her last name, which makes her blush before they leave school. Another day, Jaemin is trying to be buddies with Jinyoung again, and Son talks to him later, asking if it's because of Bomi. Jaemin says at first he was interested once she talked about him, but now he thinks he's really a good guy. He still isn't over Bomi, but wants to be friends with her, so this is just a phase he has to go through. Son says, "What if she likes you too, and they're only dating because of a mistake I made?" And Jaemin replies that she chose Jinyoung, so don't worry. That weekend, Bomi and Jinyoung bump into each other at the bookstore when she helps his little sister Gina get a book, and Jinyoung finds them two together. They end up hanging out, and when Jinyoung leaves to get something, Gina says he looked excited to see her. When Jinyoung and Gina leave, he says her first name again, and she wonders why it feels special now even though people say her first name a lot. Back in school one day, Yuri tells the class a scary story about a popular guy at their school who jumped to his death there 6 years ago. If you stay late at school on a rainy day, you might see his ghost. Later in class, Bomi can't focus and is super self-conscious and aware of Jinyoung's presence. During evening study session, Bomi tells Jinyoung to go without her because she'll study late. While walking home with his friends, Jinyoung says he has to go back for Bomi. She's alone in the room now, and since it's raining, she starts thinking of the scary story and screams when the door opens. It turns out it's just Jaemin, and they decide to leave together since Bomi's no longer in the study mood. In the hallway, they talk a bit, and Jaemin says Jinyoung has a solid heart that makes you feel like it'd help you have a solid heart too. Bomi notices his weird expression again and tries comforting him, and he reveals that the ghost story is actually about his older brother who actually jumped from their apartment. His dad was unrelenting and his mom had high hopes for him, so they sent Jaemin to his grandma's house so his brother could study. He said the only time he didn't feel stifled at home was with Jaemin, but at the time he most needed him, he wasn't there. It turns out the day his brother died, Jaemin didn't go home to see his brother because Son persuaded him to come over by telling him she has a cat. Jaemin then disappeared after that day, and Son always felt guilty about it, which is why she never confessed. After listening to Jaemin, Bomi starts crying, and Jaemin says, "People who've had to say goodbye to close family members like that are both pitied and blamed more than necessary. Still, I'm always thankful to those who cry like you." Jinyoung gets there and sees them together from the stairs and quietly leaves. When Jaemin and Bomi get outside, he asks if something happened because she was weird about Jinyoung, and he says he can tell Jinyoung likes her. Bomi starts blushing, thinking he might have proposed the fake dating because he liked her. The next day in class, Bomi is feeling excited over it, but then Jinyoung says that it's time to break up, and switches his seat back. Son asks why he's there, and he says they broke up, and everyone in class hears somehow. Bomi is sad and embarrassed since she was excited all night thinking he liked her, and realizes she fell for him. Outside, Son asks who she really likes, and she says Jinyoung, and was about to explain, but the bell rings. Sunhui then says she's glad Bomi wasn't dating him because of her, because she'd be disappointed. When they get to the classroom, Jinyoung is coming out, so Bomi asks to talk to him alone, thinking Son will be more understanding if they confess to each other. She asks him why he helped her, and he said it was annoying how she acted nice, and he didn't think she'd actually date him, and that she might as well date Jaemin. Son's waiting in the hallway, and Jaemin comes over, saying the teacher told him to come get them. In the room, Jinyoung says, "Even if your best friend likes Jaemin, it doesn't look like he has feelings for her at all," as Son and Jaemin walk in. Son yells at Bomi and runs away, and the next day Son is still ignoring her. Bomi sadly thinks she just wanted to be a good friend like Sunhui was to her, since Son befriended her in middle school when the other girls were gossiping behind her back. Son won't eat lunch with Bomi either, so Gyuri invites Bomi to eat with her group. Son goes to a stairwell to eat alone, and Jinyoung and his friends show up since it's apparently a popular spot for people who want quiet. Later, Bomi apologizes to Jaemin, and he says it makes sense now. They decide to stay friends, and she apologizes to Sunhui in class again, saying she told Jaemin it had nothing to do with her. It makes her mad again and she yells at Bomi. After Bomi walks away, Jinyoung says Bomi's in the wrong but she didn't deserve that. Son asks if it was a lie that he liked her and he says, I wonder, since when did I come to like Bomi so much? Now it's after finals a few days later, and Bomi's still hanging out with Gyuri. She sees Jinyoung and Son together in the cafeteria and gets upset, but is glad she has Gyuri. Later, a kid from another class named Dongchae goes to her class to call Bomi out. When she goes outside, the older guy who tried to bully Jinyoung is there. Son pointed him out to Bomi before, so she rejects him and quickly leaves. He tries to chase after her, but Jinyoung sees them from the window and throws Son's juice box at him. Bomi thinks it might be Jinyoung, then thinks it's not since that's Son's favorite drink, and starts crying, thinking why did they have to be together? She ends up running into Jaemin and his friends and they comfort her and Jinyoung sees them. In the bathroom, Gyuri is bad-mouthing Bomi, but Son is in the stall and overhears. She comes out and tells her Jaemin would never be interested in her. Back in class, Gyuri tells Bomi Son was rude to her, and Bomi says Son isn't angry without reason. Jaemin comes in while Gyuri is trying to provoke Bomi and asks Bomi if she's okay after crying, which pisses Gyuri off even more and she starts spreading rumors about Bomi to the other kids. On the last day of school, a random girl asks Bomi if the rumors are true that her and Sonhui fought because Son forced her to date Jinyoung since Son likes Jaemin. Bomi confronts Gyuri about it, who denies it until Bomi says other people told her it was Gyuri. She then says she did spread the rumors and maliciously says Bomi is really amazing for getting Jinyoung to like her so fast while still leading Jaemin on. Son is cleaning in the hallway when she hears someone say Bomi is fighting someone in the classroom. She rushes in and calls Gyuri out for being a loser with an inferiority complex. Gyuri goes to slap her when Bomi grabs Gyuri's hair and says, "Were you about to hit Son?" Bomi then tells her off and says even now she likes Jinyoung, right as Jaemin and Jinyoung push their way through the crowd. At that point, everyone's watching and starts saying, "Does that mean Gyuri lied?" She tries to hit Bomi, and Jaemin and Jinyoung both tell Sonhui to stop her. Gyuri scratches Bomi's face, and Sonhui bites her, and they all end up in the teacher's office. After they leave, Bomi tries apologizing to her and she says she never liked Bomi from the start because she's fake, and then leaves. Then Bomi apologizes to Sonhui and they make up. Bomi tells her she didn't give up her feelings for Jaemin for her, but didn't have the confidence to like him more than her. Bomi thought Jaemin was like the spring and something new and liked the feeling of liking someone more than actually liking him. Son apologizes for pressuring Bomi when she was in the early stages of liking. While they were in the office, Jinyoung was waiting for Bomi, and Jaemin runs into him and they talk. Jaemin says he won't apologize for not telling him that Jinyoung and Bomi liked each other, and Jinyoung says he won't apologize for Bomi ending up liking him instead. Jaemin says he'll tell Jinyoung what they talked about the rainy night if he becomes his friend, and Jinyoung says no. Then Bomi and Son come out, and Bomi's embarrassed since Jinyoung heard her say she likes him, and Son makes him take her to the nurse's office since she needs to have a conversation with Jaemin. After the couple leaves, Sonhui tells Jaemin she never expected to be more than friends, and Jaemin says he was happy to see her after moving back because she stayed the same, even though everything changed after Hamin died, so she'll always be a friend he's grateful for. After going to the nurse, Bomi is backing away from Jinyoung in embarrassment while covering her face. Jinyoung says, "Did I mishear you say you liked me?" And she says if she looks at him, she feels like her heart will burst. Jinyoung then moves her hands and says, "I like you too, more than you think." It turns out he didn't care about her before they interacted, but after overhearing that she likes him, he became suspicious, then curious, but felt like something was out of place, which turned out to be that she didn't actually like him. He started noticing her more, and after finding out the truth, he didn't want it to go well with Jaemin. He thought he was just miffed by it, but after seeing them the rainy night she cried for Jaemin, he realized he likes her. Afterwards, they meet up with Son and Jaemin while holding hands, and Sonhui makes fun of her. To every person comes their own spring, but there are also those who can find themselves in memories, rejecting a new spring. Well, that is the end of spring. I mean, technically there's like a little scene, but I just put it with summer because I thought it fit more. Yeah. I love spring. I mean, I love it all, but spring is obviously the first one, so it has the most memories of before you really knew what the series is gonna be, because it really grew. Like at first, it was just a cute little romance, and then it becomes into, I mean, what was that? It becomes, I don't know, very emotional. I cried a lot. It's one of my favorites, though. I mean, I think I have three favorites, and one not as favorite, but it's still, I mean, I don't even know, because I had to reread it just now to make the video. And maybe they're all my favorite. I don't even know, bruh. I don't know. I just know that fall's my favorite. And maybe summer's my second, or they're tied. So, yeah. Oh, and the quote unquote controversial, I don't think this is controversial, but every time I reread it, it makes me wish more and more that Bomi and Jaemin were a thing. Or like, I know like the whole point is like she likes Jin Young and like he's good for her, and Jaemin was like the spring or whatever, but bruh, they would be so good for each other. Like they relate to each other and she would help him. And I think he's just a good guy overall. Obviously Jin Young is good too. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, in real life, obviously people date multiple people. Not at, well, I mean, some people at once, but like a typical monogamous mono- person, um like they date a person and then break up and date someone else, and then they're obviously different people most of the time, and like they're, as like if they're both good relationships or whatever, like they provide different things and you have a different experience and you would act differently in the relationship and everything, like, so I don't know. Bomi and Jaemin would work in my opinion, and Bomi and Jinyoung work obviously. But yeah, I mean I do think, or I guess I agree, that dating Jaemin would be a little weird just because of the Sonmi thing, because later on there's like a whole quote unquote arc. I guess it's like, I don't know, it doesn't show it that much, but it's like a conclusion where she basically, spoiler alert, she basically realizes her feelings weren't like romantic or whatever. Um yeah, but I think if Bomi did end up dating Jaemin in spring and the Jinyoung stuff never happened, I think Sun wouldn't realize it and she would just like suppress it or something. I don't know. But I love them. Okay, well, summertime. Someone has a dream where Haman says, "It's so hard to breathe in the summer because of the humidity. Sometimes it's so bad I feel like I'll drown to death." She wakes up to a call from the director of the art studio she goes to called Nemo Studio, who asks her to come to the studio. She goes and the director tells Somong she'll have to watch her grandkids in the afternoon now that it's summer, so Somong can come to the studio and do her own stuff. As she's helping clean the studio, she sees a drawing of her and has a flashback to Haman drawing her. The director says it was nice seeing them model for each other, and she tells the director he was in her dream for the first time in 6 years, but she couldn't remember his face. Later, she's walking outside with her best friend Gao when they pass Bomi's group, who were hanging out after they met up in the earlier scene. Somong then turns around and trips trying to talk to Jaemin and says, "Haman?" Jinyoung asks if Jaemin knows her and he says no. Gao rushes over and apologizes for Somong while Son is thinking she's heard the name before. As they walk off, someone asks if Jaemin would model for her drawing and has a flashback of her asking Haman to be modeling buddies for each other. Jumps to her and Gao in a cafe, and Gao says of course he'd say no, and she could have asked her if she needed a model. Somong says he resembles Haman so much in looks, vibe, and uniform that she thought Haman came out of hiding for a second. She says she regrets throwing away Haman's photos and sketches, but she did it because she felt like she wouldn't be able to keep going if she didn't forget about him. However, once she couldn't remember his face, she was scared and missed him. Kyle then asks, "How much longer are you going to be tied down by someone who took his own life?" After the encounter, Jamin and his friends laughed about what happened. After they end their hangout, they split off into pairs and Son starts to ask about it and Jamin says it's his brother. After Jamin leaves, Son wonders if he seems unaffected because he overcame his grief and trauma, or if he's pretending for the sake of others. If he's pretending, then she hopes someone who can understand his pain and comfort him will appear. She ends up passing Somong again, and she asks her to give Jamin her contact information and the address of the studio. She does, and Jamin ends up agreeing to modeling in exchange for Somong telling him more about Haman. It cuts to their first modeling session, and Jamin asks, "How do you know my brother?" She starts telling him her story. It was the summer of her first year of high school, a bit before summer school started, where Haman was extremely popular, while she was a loner. She happened to see his two-faced side by accident one day. She ate lunch in the art room alone since the teacher gave her the key. Haman was with his friends in the hallway when he makes an excuse to leave and overhears them bad-mouthing him. He walks by the art room and decides to go in. Somong was behind her canvas so he doesn't see her, and before she can tell him he's not allowed to be there, he starts cussing. She didn't want him to notice her while that was happening, but her easel suddenly starts falling apart and Haman comes over and helps her fix it. He then says if she tells anyone what she saw, he'll put in a complaint about her getting special treatment with the room, and he stays there with her until lunch is over. Jamin then says that doesn't sound like his brother, who is kind and considerate to a fault, to which she replies, then it's him. After modeling, Jamin goes home and sees that his dad's home early. They have a short, uncomfortable conversation, and Jamin thought about telling him about Somong, but decides he shouldn't tell him about it because after Haman died, their family had an unspoken rule not to talk about him. He also thinks he's resented Somong without knowing her. We then skip to Jamin at the studio again, and Somong continues her story. Ever since the first day Haman came, he would go to the art room every lunch and watch her draw as if he envied her. He asks her about drawing and if it's fun, and she says no, it's like breathing to her. He asks her why she has no friends, and it's because she was assigned to a high school where she didn't know anyone and she's shy. She had one friend there for the first 2 weeks, but she randomly left to study abroad without telling her, and by then everyone else had formed their own group, so she was left alone. Haman laughs and calls her cute, and at the time they were nothing to each other outside of the art room. One day they pass each other in the hallway and he ignores her. Even though she didn't say anything either, she gets upset and thinks she'll start giving him one-word answers, but when she enters the art room at lunch, she sees him crying by the window. Back then, there was no way for her to know what exhausted a 17-year-old so much. She pretends she forgot to wear her contacts so she couldn't see him crying, and he starts laughing and asks how she doesn't have friends when she's this funny, and that he knows she doesn't wear contacts. He tells her he's okay, so stay here, and she blushes. She asks why he was crying, and he says it'll be summer soon and he has to attend summer school without being able to use the art room, so he was sad because he likes watching her draw. She doesn't really believe his reasoning but was sad about it too, since she was scared they'd go back to being strangers. She asks him if he wants to visit the art academy she goes to for a tour, and he agrees and asks for her phone number. On the first day of summer break, they go to the art studio together and he has the tour. After he's done looking around, the director makes him try drawing. After they leave, Somong says bye, but he asks her to hang out because he told his parents he was going to the library, so it's too early to go back home. She asks why he didn't tell them the truth, and he says they don't want him wasting time on things other than studying. Somong says she's sad because he seemed to take drawing seriously, and he was good at it. While they're hanging out, he gets a mint chocolate chip shake and she thinks it's disgusting. At the end, they awkwardly say goodbye, then she asks him how drawing was for him. He thinks and says it was just like she said. I finally felt like I could breathe. When summer school began, they went back to pretending not to know each other at school. Haman quit his private academy and told his parents he studies better in the library, but he actually used the time and money to go to the art studio with Somong. She thinks sharing a secret with someone is like having an invisible string connecting you and the other person. One day at the studio, Haman cuts Somong's bangs for her and she screams when she sees how short they are. She starts clipping her bangs up on her head, and the next day at school, Haman shows up at her class, because they're in different classes, and acts like he's there to borrow a book from the guy next to her. He secretly puts a chocolate on her desk with a note that says, "Sorry, sad face." In the present, Jamin gets a call from his mom, and someone thinks of when she saw his mom crouching on the floor after Haman died. Jamin picks up, and his mom says she's pregnant and asks him to come over with his friends sometime. Jamin says, "What?" loudly, and after he hangs up, someone asks what happened, and he says it's nothing, but suddenly a tear falls down his face. Someone thinks even the way they surprise people with their tears is similar. Jamin ends up talking about the call and tells her a bit about his mom when Haman was alive. Although his dad was stern and silent, he was more afraid of his mom, who was never satisfied. She had high expectations for them, but they were unusually high for Haman. However, his once scary mom was crying in her own mom's arms after Haman died, and she cried for days while Jamin stopped crying as he tried to comfort her. His parents divorced soon after the death, partly because his mom wanted to move but his dad didn't. He lived with his mom until last year after she got remarried, and now lives with his dad. That's also why he transferred to Bomi school and only knew Sonhui. Jamin then leaves the studio early since it's the first day of summer school tomorrow. At school, he asks Son to come visit his mom and stepdad because it'd be nice if a friend who knows about his situation could come. He's inviting other people and says that she can too. A few days later, on the weekend, they meet up and the group ends up being Jamin, Sonhui, Bomi, Jinyoung, and Jaehyun. Jamin's other two friends, Hojun and Yongsub, already had plans, and Son invited Bomi, who invited Jinyoung. They take a long bus ride to get to his mom's house and everyone's feeling nervous. Jaemin says sorry and the others say there's nothing to apologize for. Jaehyun says, "To be honest, you never shared anything personal with us, and that Hojin and Yongsub are like his fans and wanted to come." It shows a flashback scene after Hamin died where his mom was calling different people from his school and asking about Hamin. Someone said he got along with everyone, but they were just his followers and he didn't talk about himself. She gets emotional and says he had so many friends. How come no one knows a single thing about him? And his dad apologizes on the phone for her and hangs up. His mom sadly says, "We made it so that he had nowhere to go." In the present, they get off the bus and meet up with his stepdad, who they think is boisterous. Jaemin and his stepdad walk in the front, and Jaehyun tells Son it's his first time seeing Jaemin so uncomfortable. The sky looks like it's gonna rain soon, and it cuts to Somang thinking, "It was on a rainy day that our relationship began to change." When I think back on those days now, I think I had a faint idea that the tears and mysterious things he'd say were warning signals. We then continue her story. One day at the art studio, she asks if Hamin is okay because he seems down, and he says it's because of the rain and it's hard to breathe in the summer because of the humidity. "Sometimes it's so bad that I feel like I'll drown to death." Someone says she loved playing in the rain as a kid and drags him outside, saying memories made in the rain last a pretty long time, so let's make some good memories. Hamin is annoyed at first and wants to get his umbrella, but Somang says no, this is the easiest way for us to feel some freedom, while grabbing his arm, and Hamin starts blushing. He moves her hand down to hold hands properly and she blushes too. Two of Hamin's friends appear around the corner and Somang pushes Hamin into a little alley. He says he doesn't mind if they see him together, and Somang says she does. He says he thought she was hurt when he pretended not to know her at school, and she says, "Yeah, but people will gossip." Afterwards, they go back to the studio to dry off and end up scaring the director. The director gives them her extra work clothes and makes them sit on the sofa with a blanket while she leaves to wash and dry their clothes. They chat on the sofa and Haman starts talking about how he thinks she's weird and unusual, and wonders why he becomes talkative around her even though he usually feels uncomfortable talking about himself. She says her friends say she seems harmless, and he says, "It's more like you're lovable." Then they both blush and kiss. Meanwhile, Jaemin and his friends are all eating at his mom's house and talking about how Jaemin is popular. His mom says, even as a little boy, he was kind and sensitive, and helped her when she was going through a rough time. Which causes Jaemin to have a flashback of his mom saying, "You won't ever leave my side, right? I won't demand a lot from you as long as you stay by my side," bright and smiling. In present, Jaemin thinks lies as his mask of emotion starts cracking. During dessert, Jaemin thinks he feels like he's in a different dimension, even though he's in the same space as everyone, which might be why he feels so alone. He has another flashback to meeting his stepdad, and his mom apologizes for relying on him when he was just a kid, and says she wants to turn her life around with his stepdad. She started relying on him instead, and while Jaemin was happy for her, he became alone for the first time. Jaehyun and Son say Jaemin looks pale and he's not eating, and he says he's just nauseated from the bus ride. His mom goes to check for a fever with her hand, but he reflexively blocks it. His mask fully cracks and he can't control his facial expression anymore, so he covers his face and goes outside for fresh air but realizes it's raining. It shows a flashback of him and Haman talking in the rain. Jaemin says, "Good things happen when it rains," and Haman says, "Something strange happened," and talks about the moment a friend pulled him into the rain, saying it was refreshing and felt like he was dreaming. Jaemin asks if he came to like the rain, and Haman replies that he likes it so much he doesn't know what to do. In the present, Jaemin wanders around in the rain thinking he doesn't know what's refreshing about getting wet, and decides he should head back, but realizes he doesn't have anywhere to return to. He then gets a call from someone who tells him the drawing he modeled for is done, so he can come whenever and bring his friends. Jaemin's emotional from the earlier events and realizes who the friend Haman talked about was, so he replies, "Why didn't you stay by my brother's side? You weren't just friends. You were probably the only one he could turn to." After the call, Somong sits on the couch at the studio wondering what she should have done back then and thinks of the past. One day, after summer school ended, Somong goes to the studio where Haman's waiting for her outside. They bump into a little kid who lives in the same apartment as Haman, and Haman gives him a lollipop to keep it a secret that he saw him there. Somong was going to ask him if they're dating now, but decides it's embarrassing and that she likes how it is now. The fall semester of school starts and they resume ignoring each other but meeting up at the art room. The school festival is happening soon, and Somong's teacher asks her to help do the face paintings for their class. One day during lunch, Somong tells Haman about how she started going to Nemo's studio, and Haman says he liked her art from the moment he saw it because it's unique, calming, warming, and freeing. He always looked forward to lunch because he wanted to know more about the person who would draw that kind of art. They then talk about studying, and Hamid tells her he studies out of pity for his mom since she got pregnant and married young and didn't get to fulfill her dreams. When he was 5, he got an IQ test and found out he was super smart, and that's when his mom decided his future. As a kid, he never did as she asked, and she would cry because he won't listen to her. Then she has Jamin, and Hamid decides he'll protect him. His mom tried to force Jamin to study since she failed at making Hamid do it, but Jamin would cry, so Hamid started studying and getting good grades and told his mom he'll do whatever she wants, so let Jamin do whatever he wants. Hamid tells Somong he feels sorry for his mom because she'll eventually realize it was all her own greed. Later that day, Somong waits for him at the studio and the director says his mom called and he won't be coming anymore. After that, she couldn't get in contact with him and wanted to see him at school, but couldn't since she got dragged into drawing designs for the face paintings. Her classmates are super impressed and ask her to eat lunch with them. She tries to go to the art room after, and her classmates end up following her and Hamid sees them and leaves. They still haven't talked a few days later when she gets called out of class by the art teacher. It turns out Hamid was actually the one who called her out and pulls her into the art room. She's mad that he didn't answer his phone, and he says his phone was taken away and that he avoided her at school because he got jealous she was having a good time with the others. Then he laughs and pretends it was actually because he was busy preparing for the festival. She says she got to know her classmates during their preparations, and he says he knew they'd like her instantly once they got to know her. She asks how he is after getting in trouble, and he says he'll be okay if she stays like this for a bit as they hug. He quietly says, "I wish no one knew who you were," and pretends he didn't say anything. One of his friends passes the room and sees them through the window. When festival day comes, people talk about how cool Somong is while she's painting. Hamid shows up and gets a face painting and she messes it up because she started thinking of them kissing. She covers it up by painting HONGDUCK, which is red duck, and NEMONE. After the festival stuff is done, she goes to the art room and Hamid's already there. They talk a bit and he randomly says, "You seem happy lately," with no expression, and she says she is. He then says he can't afford to enjoy school and knew that if she came into his life, his world would turn upside down, so he tried ignoring her, but now he's afraid of losing her. Afterwards, while she's walking down the hallway, she thinks that she doesn't want to introduce him to her class because she doesn't want to get robbed of her precious treasure. She then accidentally bumps into the guy who saw her and Hamid the other day and causes him to spill his drink on his shirt. He asks her for a lot of money to make up for it and they start arguing. Hamid shows up and she tries to leave, but the guy grabs her arm saying it is the girl he saw, since Hamid's trying to protect her, and Hamid punches him in the face. They end up in the teacher's office and Hamid says he was in the art room with someone else. When she's at home, Hamid texts her and tells her to stay out of it because there could be rumors, and says he won't be able to contact her for a while. He then sends a text saying, "I have a request," as Somong's mom calls her over at home, so she runs off. When she gets back to her room, she sees Hamid deleted his message with the request, and she texts him back asking what it is, and he never responds. At school, rumors about Hamid and a girl start, and she's ashamed that she's glad Hamid told her not to get involved. Over the next few months, the rumors died down, but she never got to see him due to him avoiding her. The next time they interacted was right before summer break in between classes, when a teacher made Hamid help Somong carry something to the art room. She asks why he's avoiding her and says she was worried and upset, and starts crying. Hamid says it's better for both of them if they forget about each other and starts crying too. After class started, they talk in a stairwell. She tells him she's studying more and stuff to get into an art college and asks Hamid to apply too. He says no and that he can't see her doing that either, and she gets upset and calls him a coward who gives up things he likes, like art and her, then leaves. She sees a poster for a design contest at school and writes a note on it that says, "Us going through this challenging period is proof that we're trying our best to bloom. So do your best for yourself, not for others, and help your personal flower flourish, you idiot." She asks a random guy to deliver it to him. In the present, after Jamin left the house, his mom asks his friends if he talks about himself or ever brought up his brother. She says she struggles to understand his feelings and asks them to look after Jamin. The others try contacting him and he's not available, so they go out to look for him in pairs. While Sun and Jaehyun are looking, they see Jinyoung alone in the rain and end up letting him under their umbrella too. Bomi had told Jinyoung she needed to talk to Jamin for a moment and approached him alone. She sits down next to him and tries to comfort him, thinking of her own experiences with her mom. She says children who are forced to be adults struggle to become one once they've actually grown up. Her parents also thought she was a good kid, but she was just trying to live up to their expectations. Sun gave her the courage to stand up for herself even though she knew she'd be in trouble. Her mom slapped Bomi and told her she can't see Sunhui anymore, and Bomi ended up exploding and yelling and flipping stuff over. After that, they went to counseling and her mom is more relaxed now, even though their relationship is still tense. She then says if you keep bottling your feelings, they'll rot inside you and prevent you from becoming a healthy adult. Jamin starts sharing and says he hates this neighborhood because he was sent there to his grandma's so Haman could study, and then came back because his mom wanted a new start. He never came because he wanted to. He stayed cheery because his mom needed him, but then she ended up relying on someone else, so he thought, then what should I live for from now on? He almost killed himself the same way Haman did at his balcony, and his mom arrived just in time and got him down. He said, I'm sorry, Mom. I miss brother so much. After that, he moved back with his dad and went to Haman's high school because he wanted to find traces of him. He said his mom wanted to be a good parent, but he didn't give her the chance to. He's happy for her, but wonders if Haman will be forgotten. While they were talking, Jamin is aware that the other three were listening off to the side, and suddenly starts crying. Jamin feels better afterwards and they get up to leave, but he regrets being harsh on the phone. Jamin's stepdad drives them all back home, and after everyone else gets out of the car, he tells Jamin that his mom wanted to take the weight off of his shoulders by getting with his stepdad, and that they were going to get an abortion, but his mom started breaking down, saying she can't ruin another one of her kids' futures with her own hands. He asks Jamin not to resent his mom and says, sorry us adults are so selfish. He gets out of the car and starts saying bye to the others, but they ask him to hang out. Jamin says he's okay, so they don't need to worry, and then Jinyoung drops a bigger speech saying, if you need a place to confide in, now's the time. There's no one more prepared to hear your story than the people here. Jamin's touched, but wanted to apologize to Somong, who suddenly appears on the sidewalk. They all end up hanging out with Somong, and Jamin introduces her to them, saying she's Haman's friend from high school. Jaehyun asks what he was like, and it shows a flashback of Jamin calling Haman from his grandma's house, crying that he wants to go home. Because of that, Haman gave up on the special purpose high school he was preparing for to bring Jamin home. Later when they leave, Jaehyun and Son end up walking together, and he says he lives in the same direction. He says it's obvious she likes Jamin and that she should have tried comforting him. And she says it'd be shameless of her to try to be with him. When she gets to her apartment, Jaehyun says he noticed she's the type to make sacrifices for others, then goes back the way he came, because he lied about living in her direction. Jamin stayed back with Somong and apologizes for earlier and tells her he blamed her before he met her, because he read Haman's journal, which was a collection of letters of things he wished he could tell Somong. He asks if she wants to read it, but says she should probably move on instead. She still wants to read it, so Jamin runs back home to get it and gives it to her. She wonders if Haman resented her in his last moments and starts crying. Jamin says it was bad at home at the time, but she was a comforting presence to Haman. She asks how it was that day, and he says he was a kid, so all he really remembers is it rained all day, when he suddenly recalls the day Haman died. Before he went to Sonu's place, they were talking outside in the rain. Son was talking about how she doesn't like her brother and says, I bet you never wished you didn't have a brother. Jamin replies, me too. I sometimes wish I didn't have a brother. Jamin says he sometimes feels lonely but hardly ever and loves being with his brother the most. Son then says she saw someone looking at them like he was about to cry but disappeared. Jamin asks what he looked like and she says tall, skinny, and wearing a uniform. In the present, Jamin says he doesn't feel well and leaves, then throws up when he gets home. That night, Somong reads the notebook. One of his entries says he felt like he dreamt a very sweet and awfully bitter dream, because the moments they spent together were too dazzling. He wanted to be the only one to see her light, but when other people started seeing it, he became aware of his ugly shadow, so he ran away from her like a coward. He thought it'd be okay again if he returned to the way it was before he met her, because he was used to giving up things he liked, but realized he couldn't return, since he was already used to her warmth. He says, if only I hadn't met you, I could have kept living like this, but I don't regret it because that short time with you had been the only moment I could completely be myself. Thank you for being with me during my most radiant moments. Somong sobs while reading it and thinks, why didn't you know the reason I was radiant was that you were by my side, because you yourself shone the brightest in the world. After he died, she became alone again at school and wanted to see him. She would go to the art room because she thought if he appeared, that's where he'd be. Right before graduation, the guy who saw them in the art room asks her to talk and tells her that day Haman told him if she was hurt because of what happened, he'd make him pay, and that he could tell his feelings for her were insincere. The next school day, Jamin grabs Sonhui asking if the uniform she saw that day was the same as theirs. She says she doesn't remember, and Jamin leaves school early. He's walking home and thinks, I wonder if Haman knew that the world he disappeared from would carry on as if nothing had happened, while I'd live my life stuck in that moment of time as if under a curse. He then runs into some guys who he was in the same class with last year that he distanced himself from due to their personalities. It turns out they were with a group of bullies who are currently bullying Dongchae. Jamin calls them pathetic, and one of them punches him and they leave, leaving Dongchae behind. Jamin asks him if he's okay and then goes back home. His dad was home since it's a holiday, and Jamin didn't want his dad to see his face, thinking he'd get mad. Instead, he starts looking for a first aid kit, and Jamin says, "Why is everyone trying to use me to relieve their guilt?" and then starts yelling, "Why didn't you treat Hamin like this?" Then he leaves and wanders around all night. The next day, his friends called So-mung, saying Jamin isn't at school today and they can't reach him. Then someone bumps into him sleeping on the floor next to the studio and says she found him. After the call, Son regrets not saying it wasn't their uniform and runs out of school. Jaehyun follows her and they get lost for a bit looking for Nova Studio. While they're looking, someone cleans Jamin's wounds and he says he tried using pain to stop his thoughts but it didn't really hurt and that his dad didn't scold him no matter what he does, even though he was stern with his brother. After his mom found out about the art studio, she was angry and slapped Hamin, and when his dad found out, he ripped up his drawings and hit him, saying, "I left your mom in charge of educating you two because I was working my butt off to earn money to pay for your cram school." Jamin says he couldn't resent his parents even though he thought it was their fault because they were all he had left, so he started resenting So-mung after finding the notebook. He gets emotional and tells her what he said about Hamin the day he died and says it might be his fault. He then says, "If only it had been me instead," and someone gets upset saying, "How could you say that? Don't you know how much Hamin sacrificed for you?" As Son and Jaehyun finally reach the door, they overhear Somong saying, "You're right. The reason that happened to Hamin is because of you. And because of me." She keeps going and lists a bunch of other reasons like it was raining that day, and he had to go to school on vacation and his parents put their desires before his feelings. She says, "It's because no one was able to teach him how to love himself, so he hurt himself instead. And because he couldn't hate the world, he decided to make himself disappear. It's because everything and everyone, but it's the fault of no one, so don't blame yourself." So-mung and Jamin cry in each other's arms, and So-mung thinks it was Hamin's wish for them to meet, so they would no longer dwell on that memory and could continue on. Outside the door, Sunhui sobs after hearing them, and when she calms down, she freaks out realizing she's in Jaehyun's arms, which causes them to fall, and So-mung and Jamin see them. Sun says she just wanted to tell Jamin the person she saw that day wasn't Hamin, and Jamin says she's too nice. They all look at the painting So-mung made of Hamin based off of Jamin, and she gives Jamin a gift. Then someone knocks on the door, and it turns out the rest of their friends came after supplementary classes because they were worried. They want to take Jamin out for something fun, and someone tells him, "You don't have to push them away, you just have to be thankful." As the group leaves, they pass Gao, who goes to see So-mung. So-mung thinks of the past where she stopped eating and stayed in her room after the college entrance exam. Gao takes her out, and So-mung starts drinking mint chocolate shakes in honor of Hamin. Gao tells her she thought of killing herself too, but Hamin ruined it for her because she can't after seeing how So-mung is now. She's been getting bullied and says So-mung must have had some idea of what was happening due to some things, like one time when they were hanging out and So-mung sees cuts on Gao's leg. Gao dropped out of school and told her mom she doesn't want to die, and tells So-mung she has to keep living and show Hamin how well she's doing. In the present, So-mung thanks Gao for being by her side, then takes a nap. She sees Hamin in her dream and hugs him. She tells him about her life and ends up crying and asking if he regrets it, and he says he's sorry for making the most beautiful days of her life the saddest. We then get to see the reality of that day where Hamin saw the rain and thought it would be nice for the world to end like that. He thought of calling So-mung but ended up not, then sees Jamin and Sonhui. He thought of saying their names but doesn't and leaves without hearing what Jamin said. The next thing he knew, he was getting ready to jump and recalls the message he deleted, saying, "Whenever I seem exhausted, will you pull me into the middle of the rain and run with me again?" and wonders if things would have been different if she saw it. In the dream, he says she should change up her hair instead of keeping it short for him, and he'd like it if she lives her life to the fullest, then disappears. So-mung wakes up and decides she needs to let it go now. When Jamin turns his phone back on, he sees a bunch of missed calls and texts from his parents. His mom calls him and says as long as he's safe, that's all that matters. When he goes home, he's nervous, but his dad hugs him, saying he was scared something happened to him, and if he loses Jamin too, he doesn't think he could go on living. Jamin says we need to have a long conversation. Then, on the first day of the fall semester, his dad makes him drink a healthy juice before he leaves, and he spits it out because it's disgusting. We then skip to the school's anniversary, which they don't have school on, and he tells So-mung about his dad trying harder and that his dad likes her gift, which was a drawing she made of either two Hamins or Hamin and Jamin, but it looks like two Hamins. And he says it feels like time started moving again, then leaves when his friends come to get him. It then shows So-mung with a perm to symbolize her moving on. Okay, well, that was summer, and as I said in the other little section, it's my second favorite, I think. Yeah, funny story that's not actually funny. The first time I read it was when spring, I think, was finishing. Or, I don't know, it was just during spring, right? So I read Summer as it came out, and like each week. I did not like it the first time. I didn't hate it or anything, but like every week I'd read it and be like, bruh, this is not like, especially because all the comments, they're always like, this is making me cry and stuff. Like, I did not cry the first time. I mean, I think it might have been because it was week by week. Like, I don't know. I don't remember exactly because it was like a few years ago. But I'm pretty sure I was just like, this is like kind of boring. I don't know. And then I sent it to my friend, I think. Actually, I can't even remember the timeline anymore, but I just know that like the second time I read it and every single time after that, including like just now for the video, like I cry every single summer. Um, yeah. As I said, fall is my favorite, and it also made me cry before because obviously it's like sad or like emotional, but sometimes I don't cry in fall. Or like I didn't cry this time either. But summer, I literally cry every time. Yeah, at first I think I wasn't as invested also because obviously Hammond is dead the whole time in the story. So it's like you're reading it and you're just like, "Oh, okay, like he's not going to be in the story anymore." But I didn't realize until like or maybe I realized and I forgot, but recently I was at work and I was just thinking about it and Hammond is or like I guess I'm kind of similar to him, like um strict parents that caused mental illness, maybe, and yeah, and then the suicide stuff is I mean, I can relate. I mean, I'm still here. Woo! Sorry, I'm just rambling because it's kind of fun. Let me think. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I kind of like that someone is like still living with his memory. I mean, I guess it's like sad too, but um I mean, obviously it would not hit the same if they met and she had like a boyfriend currently or something. I forgot if I mentioned it, but I think it was in the spring I said that her and Haman are 6 years older. So it's been 6 years of like no one, but also Haman is her first love, so or like her first crush too. So I guess it does make sense. And yeah, you can probably tell. Actually, I don't think it's that obvious, but the next main person is Gal, and I love her so much. She's my favorite character. I'm so excited. Well, I have finally finished editing, and one video is basically done after I guess I put a picture on this part after like 2 months or so, and I'm really, really excited to let me think, sorry. I'm distracted. Um yes, I'm very excited to finish in my next video, which is hopefully in like less than 2 weeks, maybe one, I don't know. But very happy. And also, skimming as I was skimming it again to like find the photos, I think I really like Hamid. Like obviously I like him already, but I think the more I read it, the more I like him. Um I don't know. I mean, I always get really sad cuz like when you read about him, you're just like, "Oh, like this guy is like he's so good." So like you really wish he was still alive. I don't know. I really wish he was alive. Whenever I read it, I just feel like I don't know. He kind of inspires me, I guess, to like not care so much about my life. Well, not in like a bad way. I don't know. It's like live how you want, and then I don't know. I don't know. Also, I really like that it's implied, basically, or like, yeah, that Haman is, I guess, an angel that watches people. Well, it'll show more of it later, but I don't know. I choose to believe that the dream was real and it was actually him. Anyway, this outro is not really an outro, it's just talking about Haman, but Yes, I hope you enjoyed. Woohoo!